my good buddy, Tony, he's going to come out here. He's going to talk about the passion of doing real estate, of doing deals, of crafting deals, of building beautiful products. For the next 6 hours, he's going to be in a riveting conversation about how he builds his business, how he builds his properties, and what he really loves doing. Because again, we're kind of doing the Valentine's Day thing. I love the process part, he loves the product part, and he's going to be talking to us all about what he's doing, and he's looking for the clicker.
Yeah.
Which one are you?
I'm the cuter looking one. I'm the younger one.
Tony Sicilian, guys. Thanks so much.
Man, it's good to be back. So I had to put this presentation together this week, and I had to, originally we had a plan that we were going to talk about like the love and yet the pitfalls of real estate, because this is kind of like, I guess we all love to do it, but at the same point in time, we kind of maybe miss, or we miss some of the cues that could be pitfalls and bad things, right? So, me personally, not to get like too deep into my personal story, but like, I started doing real estate almost 19 years ago now, and it's been fun. It's given me a lot of freedom, and so I dubbed this Saved by Real Estate, and it's a cute little heart in the middle there because I do love what I do, but for all the same reasons that I love what I do, I also hate what I do, which I'll kind of get into. So I believe freedom is like the one thing that we all, like being able to come here tonight and hang out with people and talk, and like having the freedom to just show up and meet a wholesaler or meet a lender and make money, is like, it's just really attractive, right? Like you just get, there's no 9 to 5, it's whatever you make it, right? So you have the freedom to succeed, and you also have the freedom to fail. Wait, why didn't it switch? Oh, there it is. That's the slide I was looking for. So anyway, so you have the freedom to succeed, but you also have the freedom to fail. And it's entirely up to you, right? If you get up every day and you aim for something, you're gonna hit something. It's just, you gotta put the effort in. Nick has been posting a lot of like motivational, like morning quotes, just trying to get people to realize that if you get up out of bed in the morning early, whatever your early is, if you just try in real estate, you could be successful. But with that comes failure. And Nick said it earlier, like, just keep going. Like, even if you failed, even if you lost money, I literally just lost money last week on a house, like a shitload of money, not even a little bit of money, but we keep going, right? Like, I'm not gonna let that one deal, that one bad deal, stop me from finishing the other 25 that I got left, right? Like, it just, no one deal is gonna push me out of the market. So you'll hear me talk about like how I love the creative process of doing this. And it started way back, like when I first started doing real estate, I got into creative finance, sub-twos, owner financing. I really enjoyed the negotiation part. But what I've also like fallen in love with in the last 2 years are my passion projects and my renovations. And Nick and I will go back and forth a little bit on, I think I'm special, but Nick thinks that like anybody can be a rehabber. If you watch enough TV, you see the DIY, you know, or whatever, HGTV shows. I mean, they make it look so easy. I think the difference that we can agree on is that not everyone can take the same shitty houses that I do and turn them into what I believe to be like masterpieces. Every house, I said it in the Q&A, like every house I leave a little piece of me in, and I take a lot of pride in that. The pitfall is that you can overspend, which I do on every single house. You can overthink the rehab. I can like talk for days about I have a lot of people that call me and they're like, hey, I'm in the middle of this rehab and I need help. And I'm like, why didn't you call me earlier? Because it's really hard for me to help you if you're in the middle of a rehab. Like unrehabbing a house and then finishing it is way worse than just rehabbing it from the beginning. So people overthink, they overspend, they overdesign, and like what you originally thought was a positive, like, oh, this is an easy, you know, I could paint this house, I could move this wall, can turn into a nightmare. So, you know, again, the good side of the business is I love how creative I get to be. This is actually a house we actually did last year. We bought it from Equity Cash Offer, Donnie and Omar out there. And Daniela actually staged this house for us. And people thought that the house should be torn down. And we turned it around and sold it for like record-breaking price for the neighborhood it was in. And I was super proud of it. And we did like an Art Deco wall in it. It was just so special. Did I overspend? Yes. Did I overdesign it? Probably. But there was a positive outcome, and we made a lot of money on it, and it was great. But in this market that you're currently in, you can trip upwards, and so the pitfall that I'm trying to like balance my pros of like how awesome it is the market shifts. We've been like, I've been wondering when it's going to stop or when it's actually going to shift in the opposite direction for like the last 15 years. But, you know, the market will shift and you just don't want to be caught at that time overspending or over rehabbing or something like that, right? So just kind of be aware of what's happening around us. Don't constantly pay more, you know, things like that. I think, so when I first started doing real estate, I was in loans. I worked at Bank of America, and I was a terrible employee. If I ever ask you for a job, do not hire me. Like I showed up when I wanted, I left when I wanted, but I was like a top producer, so I kind of got away with it. And when I got into real estate, like I realized that like there were what was really, really cool, especially, you know, 19 years ago, was like no two deals were alike. Like in the beginning stages when you're fielding calls, like buy calls, like a homeowner's calling you to sell their house, they're distressed, you know, they have this situation, whatever it is, you know, mom's house, grandma's house, I mean, whatever it was like, oh man, I could get creative about solving their problem. And so me being able to read situations and help people, whether it's with title or, you know, hunting down, skip tracing like old family members that no one's spoken to. I mean, I've done deals where there's, you know, 10, 15, 20 heirs and you like had to Facebook hunt them down and skip trace them and, or someone was in jail and you had to like go get a notary to sign closing docs at a jail. Like we've done all that, right? So the fun part for me was like, instead of my 9-to-5 job where I was like just like copy and pasting the same thing every day, real estate's given me this ability to be like, oh man, like tomorrow's gonna be different than today because the house or the deal that I deal with tomorrow is gonna be very different than this other one. And so it keeps me fresh and it keeps me on my toes, and I'm very, very like attracted to that. So the pitfall, I was trying to come up with a pitfall for this because I was like, oh, what's bad about that? I think the pitfall really was we get comfortable with how much we know, and then you're like, you either know it all, and then you're like, oh, I've seen this a million times, or I've seen I've seen everything in my career. Like that sort of mentality can keep you in a box, and then you'll be unprepared for when someone brings you a new challenge, right? And there isn't anything special about this business. The only thing special is your ability to be different enough to provide a service to whether it's a homeowner or wholesaler or a lender, right? Like you kind of have to be the thing that's different and find the little pinholes to make deals better. That's your value add. That's how you stay creative. That's how you stay motivated. That's how you stay having fun, and that's how you keep going. Specifically, I went back on this one on purpose. They're not in the room, so I could talk about them. I walked this house. I bought it sight unseen, like you're not supposed to do. Don't buy houses sight unseen. Please go walk them and verify what you're buying. Don't do as I do as I say. I bought this house sight unseen, and we pulled up to it, and like we had to climb through this jungle, and then like we had to like get through this screened-in porch thing, and then you couldn't even go in the front door because it was nailed, screwed shut. So we had to climb down the side of the house, and it was literally like a 2 or 3 foot drop, and then we had to like walk down this little alleyway, and then get to the back of the house, and then we had to climb up like some tires, and climbed in the back of this house, and there was no floor, and so like stepping on beams. It's all on video. You can watch it on our YouTube channel. But the creative part of me, Tax had the house at like 1,200 square feet, something like that, and I've gotten very good at reading houses and their square footage, and I instantly knew that the house was significantly larger than what it was being marketed for. So my value add and my creative brain and my problem solution, like the way my brain works, I saw that house and I knew it was bigger, and I knew I could do something more than what they were saying. I knew I'd have to spend more, but I knew I could get like 1,800 square feet out of it. And so I was the only one that bought it. And I bought it at a good price because I was the only one that saw that the square footage was there, and I was the only lunatic that had no problem taking the house from that to that. So there's like little value add things you can learn as you do this business is, find the flaws and then capitalize on it. Specifically the flaw on that one, which we made a video of as well, was about that house sight unseen. I was actually at a conference, a real estate conference with Nick, and I was sitting at this round table, Nick, TJ, and I, and are they in the room? Equity cash offer. Text me this deal, and it's one of my top 10 zip codes. So when I see a zip code come across, I know the market well enough to know like, oh, I want that zip code. So I saw it, and I saw how cheap it was, and I said, sure, I'll take it. Like, this is just me sitting in a room listening to some dude talk and do a presentation, and I'm like, yeah, those numbers look good. Sure, I'll take it. And I texted him, yeah, I'll buy it. Email me a contract. I didn't even see it. My lender went out there and was like, what did you do? And I was like, no, this is great. Like, I saw the photos, He's like, you haven't been here, have you? And I was like, no. Why? I mean, how bad could it be? We've fixed like the worst shit. How bad could this one be? He's like, Tony, this is the worst house. I'm not going to fund it. And I was like, all right, whatever. So I called my other private money lender, and they funded it. I went to the house, and I met my foundation guy there, and Ryan kind of touched on this earlier. The first words and the guy doesn't speak English, but the first words out of his mouth were, no. Like, that's all he said to me was, no. And I was like, what do you mean no? We've done this. He's like, no. And he like wanted to get back in his truck and leave. So the shorter, I'll try to wrap up the story. The story is we actually, what we did discover, because I'm a man of my word, so I contracted it without seeing it, so I'm going to close on it. I can't not close on it. They'll get pissed off at me. ruin my reputation or whatever, right? So the silver lining was it was a massive, almost a 1 acre lot, like 0.75 or whatever. And it actually had 3 city lots on it. So we hosted a teardown party. We tore the house down, had plans made, and we got the city all the way up to the point to the green tag where we could build 3 new houses. So what would have been like a shitty $60,000 house that I couldn't rehab turned into someone. We actually flipped the lots after we scraped it, and we made like 20 grand a lot. So we sold it for more, but again, that was because we saw we found a solution, and didn't lose. I could have easily lost on that, but. So like 18 or 19 years ago, my first mentor, second mentor actually, in that time in real estate, things were like really unpredictable. Houses were on the market for, a year. Wholesaling wasn't really a thing because there were foreclosures, and you could go buy a house on MLS rather than from they didn't need the wholesaler because banks were liquidating their portfolios. So it was like a really weird time, one that I had never experienced before. And this guy said to me, the only thing predictable in real estate is unpredictability. And I was like, so it stays in the back of my mind. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually true. Like tomorrow, I have no idea what's going to happen, with the markets or rates go up, whatever, right? Like you just predict that something different's going to happen. Anyway, yeah. So don't get bored and try to recreate the wheel or reinvent the wheel, as Nick says. And Nick constantly reminds me, Tony, don't reinvent the wheel. Someone did it already. Just. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll just improve the wheel. I'll make it rounder, or I'll add some spokes that look nicer or something. So if you get to know me, you know that my family is my why. I got the chance to move here after 9/11. One of my brothers moved here. I moved here, and it was a great change, especially at that time, leaving New York and coming here. Plenty of opportunities. It was really very different than New York, cleaner, newer. You just had there was like an air of growth that you could have in Texas that you didn't have in New York. At least we didn't have. So I keep my family incredibly close, and they're a part of my business. Nick and I are partners. At one point, Nick's wife worked with me. She works in title now. My other brother worked with me. We're just very family orientated. Ryan Harper, who does our media, he's part of our family. He comes to holidays with us. So they're my why as to why I get up every day and I keep going. So you have to have, outside of monetary value, you have to have goals for, hey, I want to, not even just even if it is a vacation, but you just have to have inspiration. And my family inspires me to be better, do better, and try harder tomorrow than I did today. So the other thing about my family is, when I say my family, yes, it's our blood relatives, but this Christmas, or it was Christmas or Christmas Eve, I don't remember, but there were 40 people at our house for Christmas because I was just raised to take people in, right? So if you don't have a family or you're close to us, it's hey, come join us. Don't be alone on the holidays, right? So, but they're filled of, they all give. Everyone brings something. They're not just takers, right? So surround yourself with people that motivate you and are not takers. They got to give in order to get, right? You don't want people just sucking the life out of you. So my family is my why, and they're the reason I get up in the morning I don't have a wife or kids or anything, but it's my family, my brother, his kids, my other brothers. I have 10 nieces and nephews. It's like my mom. It's just, they're my why as to why I keep trying and keep reinventing stuff, or not reinventing, improving the wheel, Nick. I'm not reinventing the wheel. But they're the reason that like I really enjoy, and then the friends and the networking and making deals and saving people, like that all just fulfills me because I'm able to give back. So it isn't the direct monetary value, which everyone talks about, cashing checks and getting paid, and yes, that's the byproduct, but like that's not really what motivates you, right? Like what motivates you is solving problems and being a solution, at least for me. And there's give and take in that. So I did this thing. I'm kind of trying to. I turned 40 last year, and I was like, all right, well, I want to experience some stuff, and like we all have a bucket list, I guess, and I have a fear of heights. Like I won't get on a ladder, or I will definitely not walk on a roof. So I got up. One of the people that we work with at InvestMark, her and her husband are skydivers, and skydiving's always been something like I've really wanted to do. I just wanted to feel what it felt like to just get to the door of the plane, and whatever that next step was, I just wanted to know what that was. And so Jennifer tells me where to go, and up in Whitesboro, Skydive Spaceland, whatever, Dallas. Greatest place, it's clean, it's awesome. I went up there on a Saturday morning. Like I went online, I booked it myself, I went by myself, I drove up there on like early Saturday morning, and I paid for the video and photo thing, because I was like, I don't know that I'll ever do this again, but let's record it, making history, my own history. And I went and skydove. So like, you have to take time for yourself, right? Because as much as you're giving, whether it's to your contractors or to your sellers or to whatever, like all of that you're putting out, you have to take time to put it back inside and rest. I also think early on in my career, I was insanely cocky. I can look back now and see moments where I was cocky and I was not confident, and I think now I'm significantly more confident over being cocky. So I try to speak brutally honest and not necessarily like brag or anything like that, because I don't have to brag. Like I don't want to come off as like I'm a know-it-all. I'm just here as a conduit to like pass on information, and so it's more confidence now. And so staying humble and being confident is important to your success, I believe. And then it's really, really, this is a challenging, like the give more than you take thing. I see it more so in real estate than a lot of other areas, and again, maybe it's just because I'm so connected and I talk to so many people, but I feel like the ones that have lasted the longest, like there's a few people in my network that have been doing this as long as me, if not longer, and we're still in touch with one another. We have roundtables, and so your network is important, but that network has to be filled with again, like I said, givers. So whether that's in your family, but also in your network, right? So like every time we host up one of these meetups, it's like, hey, what are we going to give? Like, what are we trying to give here? What's the goal? And so tonight's goal was like give the passion of why I love doing this, but also like, hey, don't find, or if you hit the pitfall, get up and keep going, that sort of thing. So try to always, I think if you live that abundant lifestyle where you're giving, you're gonna get back. Like just good shit's gonna happen, I promise. This is my last quote. And I didn't actually, well, like I said, I spent my early years being pretty cocky. I was successful. I kind of like lived for the bigger paydays, man, I got a really good wholesale assignment fee, whatever. Got a new car, whatever it was. And this man is still my private money lender. He's been my private money lender for 15 years. I work with him and his son we're very close. He funds 100% of my deals pretty much. Good, just like a good, I think they're true Texans to like the early 1800s. So they're all born and raised Texans. And he said this to me one day, and it was like 10 years later that it clicked, which 10 years later would be like maybe 5 years ago now, to where I had the aha moment that oh, that son of a bitch, like that was a really good one, like that's impressive. And it was, he said to me, Tony, I'm never impressed with how much money people spend. He's like, what impresses me is how much money they don't spend, how much money they keep, how much money they save. So that's like my last quote, and it's probably my favorite one, and I think about it daily because it's easy for us to go out to dinner, spend money, whatever, buy watches or new clothes, whatever it is, right? I mean, you have to reward yourself, right? But I try not to get caught up in the real estate, social media, taking pictures in front of Ferraris and Bugattis and stuff. So I'm only impressed with how much money you can save and not how much money you spend. So anyway, those are my quotes. That's my like little very straightforward. What saved me in my life was my freedom in this business. And so anyone have any questions? Yes. Which one? This one? This one? So the story of how I met this guy was really interesting. Back, so it was about 15, 16 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. I was wholesaling a house, and it's insane because it was like I was selling a house for like $27,000. And I remember the street, I remember the house, I remember walking it, and the guy that went and looked at it was like, yeah, we'll take it. And I was like, great, I'm like excited, we're gonna make $10,000. Like I was all, or $5,000, whatever it was, like I was all excited. And I was like, all right, well, let's go do the contract, And he's like, well, before you do the contract, I want you to meet who's funding it. And to this day, the guy that introduced me to them still works for them. And every time I see him, I always tip my hat to him, and I always like remind him that if he didn't make that introduction that day, like my life would have never have changed in the magnitude. So that one connection to, his name is Kevin, and he introduced me to Matt and his dad, changed my life forever. And he didn't have to. Like he didn't have to introduce me. He just wanted, at that time, again, there wasn't like a lot of hard money lenders. There weren't corporate Wall Street lenders that are out there, right? So there was mostly family money that you were borrowing from to do deals. So, Shit. I think he was like a referral from a Spanish, because I was doing a lot of seller financing. And again, just connection, like we weren't doing meetups like this back then. Like it wasn't this, the network that you see here tonight wasn't really happening back then. So he was the same thing, like, oh, a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house was tough to sell 15 years ago or so, 15, 18 years ago. So I just got a phone call. Kevin was referred by someone else, and I was like, oh, well, yeah, I'll meet you over there. I'll show it to you, And then he literally just introduced me to them. Like the next day, they came into the office. They told us what they do, and I just instantly connected to the energy and ran with it. And they still, literally, I was just with them yesterday. We're buying a house in Grand Prairie that they're funding. So, yeah, good relationships. They know that I trust them. I treat their money like it's my money. I respect. That's another. All too often, you get into houses or you get into deals and you borrow hard money, and you're like, oh, it's 10 grand down, whatever it is, right? Whatever your cost of entry into that deal is, like that relationship that you're building with those lenders, whether they're the guys in the other room or family members or private money lenders, whatever, your duty, your fiduciary responsibility is to them first before you make a profit. So like I said, I've lost money on plenty of deals. I've listened to tons of investors say, "Oh, I've never lost money on a deal." You just haven't been doing real estate right, or you've only wholesaled, or you haven't taken one down. You haven't actually ran into sewer line problems, or right, like I can name off so many problems on houses that I've come across, and so my responsibility before Tony gets paid, everyone else gets paid. The lender, title companies, right? Like everybody else gets paid. The contractors, everyone, and then whatever's left is for me and my business, right? So that's just the way I operate. And so they give me a lot of leeway because they know that I take care of them as if their money is my money. Hopefully that answered your question. So now he doesn't buy any houses from me. He just funds. He's kind of a lunatic like me, and he's willing to fund everything I'm willing to do because he sees how creative I can be. How do you get those connections? There's a guy sitting 4 rows behind you that I can guarantee if you're looking for somebody to do business with, I know his dad very well. I guarantee someone like him can change your life if you respect his money like it's your money and you do what you're supposed to do, right? So again, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring these meetups back, and then yes, one of the reasons why I push for certain vendors is because they're not, like I trust every vendor in that room. And so I want to expose my network, and I want you to expand your business. That's yeah. The money. Sure. Absolutely. Do you have a card on you right now? So his name is Jack, and I actually know Jack's dad really well. He's someone that I have worked with for the last 15 years. This is Jack Jr. Sorry, Jack, I gotta call you Junior. But he's a relationship that you could have for the rest of your career and potentially change your entire business. And so I used to go to breakfast. It's been a minute because we were so busy. I used to go to breakfast once a week with his dad. And it's always comical because senior has he's just old school. Another true Texas family, old school. And you get this when you're I'm also a lender. So when you get clients that hit you up to borrow money, usually if they're new or green, they try to sell the hard money lender on how good the deal is. They don't ever tell you how bad the deal is. I don't know why. It's like, we're gonna find out. Just tell me, give me the numbers. Don't tell me the story. And one of I could have added it. I should have added a senior quote in here. Don't tell your dad I didn't put a quote from him in here. But no, somebody else's. But one of senior's quotes is, "I'm not French. I'm a Texan. I'm an American. So are we gonna make money? No, there's no we in this relationship. It's I'm gonna make money. The wholesaler's gonna make money. It's up to you if you're gonna make money, right? Because customers will call you and they'll be like, oh, I just don't see how I can lose. And I'm like, that's your flaw. If you don't see how you can lose, that's absolutely your first flaw in the deal. Because if you're not analyzing a deal and being like, all right, where can I stub my toe and where can I lose money, right? And if you don't analyze for that and you're only looking at all the pros and not the cons, then you're just increasing your risk to lose. Not saying that you're going to. It just.
Naturally, people are selfish, right? They don't ever put their paradigm in other people's shoes. When you don't do that, that's kind of where you find out, okay, that is how we do it. Because something that you might want is something I can't do. And something that I do wrong can affect you. So, putting yourself in that other person's shoes a lot of times helps build that rapport.
Yeah.
And the understanding of how this is going to work anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah, because your relationship between you as the borrower and the lender, right? It only works if you can if it's a win-win, right? If the loan is too expensive, or the wholesaler, which is unfortunate right now because wholesalers are pricing shit at 80, 90, 92% minus repairs. I don't know how many people in this room can remember a time where we were buying at 65, actually 60, and then it went to 65, 60% minus repairs. So just in my 20-year career, we went from buying at 60% to 80. I mean, I won't touch anything north of 78% really, because I can find some value add and I can create a few things that give me a little bit of a bonus, right? But everyone's working off of slimmer margins, and you could stub your toe very easily. I think there was a lady during Nick's Q&A. There was a lady that was talking about her house in North Richland Hills that she just every time she turned a corner, there was a whole nother thing, and my response to her was, lady, I just did this house, and I closed it last Friday. I had to replumb it 3 times. Why? I don't know. It just had to happen. The guys kept using different parts and wrong parts and plumbed it the wrong way. But my lender didn't lose money. My contractors didn't lose money. My suppliers didn't lose money. I just took the hit and moved on, But so that relationship I have with my lender, he absolutely looked at that and was like, now Tony could have literally just walked. I have those situations where clients just peace out. A lady, one of my other private lenders called me, and she has a house in a historic part of Fort Worth, and guy got in over his head, just walked away from the project. And if you're going to be that investor, right, then you're not an asset to the lender. And if you're going to the lender always asking for the cheapest rate or the cheapest points, it's like you're trying to make it a win for you because maybe the deal's too slim, right? So it's those things that I always try to keep everyone like in check on, right? Like just constantly remember that there's relationships and everyone has to win along the way. Not everyone has to home run. Everyone just got to win singles and doubles and then consistency. Next. Man, I feel bad. Last in November, there were a lot of questions. I feel like there are no questions this time, except obviously, thank you for yours. Thank you. Yes. That's a tough. So he asked, "What is my philosophy for? What's my philosophy for vetting contractors, feeling them out, like trusting them with my projects, that sort of thing?" So I'll try not to. Nick says I ramble too much, so I'll try not to ramble too much here. Earlier on in my career, I kind of just especially earlier on in my career, like my rehabs were nowhere near what they are now. I almost do new construction now. I don't do new construction, but I almost do new construction. But like early on in my career, it was more about finding the lowest cost person, which isn't always good. But now, so if I just speak like now, because right now we have a labor problem. We have a labor shortage in this country, and it's becoming incredibly hard to find someone who's reasonably priced and actually talented. And especially with a lot of the stuff I do, it's challenging. So I look for relationships and I look at their past work, obviously. I'll walk their rehabs that they say they've done. But I'm a little bit blessed in that people come to me because they see what I'm doing. So people do come to me more than I have to go hunt for them. So I'm not really answering your question because it's just the proof is in the pudding. A new guy actually hit me up like a week ago or so, and he wanted to bid a house, and I have plans drawn up for most of my big rehabs, and I was like, here are the plans, you can give me a bid. And he like gave me a bid, and I was like, is this labor, material, is this everything? He's like, no, it's just labor. And I was like, bro, that's my entire budget for the project. Like, what do you, oh, well, why don't we just like come up with a number that works for both of us? And I'm like, no, like have you never bid a house before? Like, so some people can just weed themselves out by the way they speak to you. But most of my main subs, because I have a custom cabinet guy, I have a custom tile guy, I have a window installer, I have a floor guy. Like all my main subs have been my subs for 5+ years. In fact, my cabinet guy's been my sub for like almost 15, and I love him. And he does that's why every house I do gets custom kitchen. Because this man, I could give him 4 walls and say, put a kitchen in here, and he puts the coolest kitchens together. So, so I think it's just like maybe not necessarily looking for the bad in the contractor, but looking for like if they actually can accomplish the task on time. It's not even about the budget. It's more so on time, and they don't have to rob from Peter to pay Paul. Right? Like if they're asking you for next week's money this week and this week's work's not even done, yeah, it's like an indicator to like you're gonna need to like that guy's got to go because he's obviously doing too many other jobs. And I have those guys still in my Rolodex who I every now and then need a favor done, and I resort to them because I have so many projects going, and then I'm like, why did I call that guy back? So it's not easy, but I definitely try to go with like, can they actually do the task that I put in front of them?
So we got to wrap it up.
Oh, sorry.
So, no, that's fine. Does anybody have any
I told you
issues,
he
like-
says I ramble.
He does, he absolutely does. Does anybody have any actually problems that they need help with, that they want to talk to afterwards? We definitely can. If anybody wants to, we're gonna get kicked out in the next like half hour. So,
I
thank
did this
you.
at the last meeting. I'll do it here too. If you want my cell phone number, you could feel free to put it in your phone and text me. Don't call me. Send me a text or email.
We got to just put it up on the slide next time.
Yeah.
That's what should be at the last.
Yeah.
Last thought is your fucking number.
Yeah. Should be my phone number. But I could give out my phone number if anybody wants it. You could text me, ask me questions. Just give me your info so that I could save you in my phone. And I'll be happy to answer questions whenever you come up with a problem. You know, that's just my give, is trying to solve problems. So.
So it's me, Tony, and TJ. It's our thing. We paired up with Ryan, and then we're changing speakers each time. So we're trying to do different themes. This time, we're just talking about volume. We were trying to get people that are doing a lot of volume. Theme for Tony and TJ were love and hate and real estate. But
Yeah. So we just. Ryan, are you backstage?
nah, he's outside probably. But
So-
no, it's the three of us.
Yeah.
Ryan's the
So-
behind the scenes camera guy, and
So Ryan Harper Belmont, the guys with all the cameras, Nick and I have been documenting our journey for like the last year and a half. You can go to the SicilianBrothers.com and see our all the debauchery and that crazy flip, the Hollywood flip. There's multiple videos on that. We're going to unleash one on a historic house in Fort Worth that is going to be amazing. So Ryan does our media. And there was when COVID hit and this event disappeared, I saw that there was a gap. Like, people missed this meetup specifically. And so we wanted to bring it back. We wanted to give back this event in this theater. Everyone knows it. It's kind of in the middle between Dallas and Fort Worth. So it was just like the four of us sat down and said, why are we not? Like, we need to bring the meetup back. And so that's why we called it the meetup, the real estate meetup. So it's all real estate. We try to keep all the speakers to, relatively speaking, to, things that can benefit you. Casey being a transaction coordinator, you might not need it today, but,
people that do volume need.
But yeah. I mean, I don't have one. Holy shit, if I would have had one back when I was wholesaling 20, 30 houses a month, like, fuck. Like,
Or how they can just, it doesn't even come out of their, put it in the deal. And
yes.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't even come out of, like, it's on page 3 of the freaking assignment, and it's on the HUD, and the buyer's paying it. I'm like, and I pay that shit, because, I buy from Donnie and stuff, and it's always there, and I'm like, damn it, I forgot about that extra $3.95 or whatever the hell the number is, But it's just the cost of doing business, right? And it definitely helps get things done faster, better, smoother, easier. So, yes, thank you, but thank you guys for coming, and thank you for sharing, and we'll be back in May. I don't know the date, but we'll be back in May. We've got 4 dates this year, so.
3 months.
Yeah, I think May, yeah, so. Oh, so the jackets came because I'm a lunatic and I design, I come up with weird shit all the time. And this year's,
Just like to have fun.
this year's theme was Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
But Saved by Real Estate. And so I made us the Saved by the Bell
We
characters.
made TJ screech.
and I made TJ Screech, and so I made us Saved by the Bell characters. Last meetup in November, we were the Three Amigos. So I took the picture of the Three Amigos and had my team edit, and so.
Amazon.
Amazon. Yeah, so like I saw it, I Googled like their outfits, and someone was wearing it. I think Screech was actually wearing it, so we should have gotten TJ one, but he's too square. So it was just one of those things. It was like, let's. Yeah.
He never
no,
does.
TJ will never play along with our debaucheries. Yeah, no, if you watch him in some of our videos too, he's like grumpy old man. But yeah, so it was. Yeah, no. Yeah. So no, TJ's and his philosophy
The hair is
is
just perfect. That goes perfect. Like,
yeah. TJ's philosophy is, and we become great friends, and we hang out a lot, and his philosophy is very different than mine. But I think we have very similar stories. He just runs his business so much more like a business, and I run my business.
yeah, what do you run your business like?
I run my business like
Brute
it's-
force.
with just pure brute force. I brought on some awesome family members that kind of took over the project management roles for me, and I can trust them entirely. They're bilingual. Like, there's just so many. When you're doing volume, whether it's wholesale or fix and flip or fix and rent, buy and holds, like you just have to have a really good core team. I'm not a massive contractor with some crazy, I don't have spreadsheets. I don't run my projects off of timelines. If you've ever seen a build timeline, like a project build timeline, I don't do any of that shit. It's all in my head. It's all in notes. It's all in, it's a very weird, do not do it that way. I'm
That way, because obviously, it's that's why you get this square foot thing. But you and TJ, there's no right or wrong. And you kind of balance each other.
Yes.
Where you're really strong, he's obviously a little weak in that.
Yes.
So,
No,
if you did it his way, you'd be miserable, and if he did it your way,
absolutely. Which is exactly why we're friends. And he makes fun of me for being as crazy as I am, but at the same point, he sees the freedom in right, and there's different freedoms. It's going back to the freedom slide. There's different freedoms. He has so much more freedom than I do in a sense because he's so hands off, and his rehabs are what I would call cookie cutter Home Depot rehabs. That loser.
I'm jealous of them. I'm absolutely jealous of them. I
but,
wish we had an opportunity to do that.
But we do. I just don't let them go that route. But then the freedom that I'm envious of is I'm oh God, if I just gave it off and did the easy make ready and didn't put windows and custom cabinets, what the fuck? So there's different freedoms at different times, and that's the duality. So that was kind of the point of tonight, was addressing the duality. The grass always looks greener, right? The grass always looks greener. If you're just getting started and you're oh man, wholesalers are cashing checks, that's awesome. I want to go do that. What you're not seeing is the list building, the origination, the cold calling, you're not seeing all that front end spend and legwork. And then if you're oh man, the hard money lender's charging 12 and 2 or 12.99 and 3 points, he's trying to rob me. It's no, you're not paying attention to the respect that the lender is going to be there with you, right, through the entire process. And in most cases, if the shit hits the fan, he's going to step in and be all right, let's get out of this together. If you bail on him, no, then yeah, you're getting a deficiency judgment, and he'll take the house, and you're screwed, right? Plus, the lending market, for the record, the hard money market, I can call the boss of every hard money lender in Texas and be if not that I do this, but don't lend to Bob, right? Because he just fucked us on 3 deals. Yeah, right? Like it's such a small network, you never want to burn anybody.